Welcome to Epilogue Podcast, the show where we discuss some stuff that happened on a different show ages ago which nobody really cares about anymore.
Hi, I'm Portponky.
And I'm LeBloc.
Today we're discussing Deep Space Nine, Season 2, Episode 22, The Wire. Facing corruption and apathy, our heroes are given the dead-end task of breaking a drug-dealing ring in West Baltimore.
Wait a minute.
Oh wait, I read the wrong one. Garrick experiences seizures after a pain-suppressing brain implant he has been abusing for 2 years starts to malfunction, and Bashir has to save him.
So what did you think of this upon rewatch?
Yeah, this is a notable one, because the character of Garrick gets blown wide open, kind of. So it's kind of important in that way. I actually didn't like it as much as I thought I would. It was good. I knew it was a good episode. And obviously Garrick turns a whole bunch of tricks. He's terrifying, friendly, depressed. It just keeps changing. So Andrew Robinson was really nailing it. But I think I just got a bit overwhelmed with smug Bashir.
Is that why you didn't enjoy it as much? Because of Bashir?
Well, I would say I did enjoy it. I like Bashir better when he gets taken down a notch. And in this one, his ego just runs off, and he's kind of patting himself on the back quite a lot.
Garrick has a few choice words for Bashir, though, in this episode. Calls him smug, among other things.
Yeah, he really digs into him. But it didn't affect Bashir. He was on his smug trip. I shouldn't diss it. It's a great episode. A lot of fun to learn all this stuff about Garrick, and then you're left with this kind of a question mark.
Well, we think we learned stuff about Garrick.
Not even sure if we did learn something. Because then you're like, oh, okay, he's just making stuff up. But he has a knack for obfuscation. So then you think, well, was he mixing lies with the truth? What is there elements of truth in this story?
He lies so much, it's just habit now. And I doubt he can even tell the whole truth.
Yeah, that's his reality, in a sense. We did find out some truths about him. Mainly that he isn't just a regular Cardassian.
No, he is not a plain and simple tailor.
Not even close. And I guess we learned about the Obsidian Order, who are bigged up a lot. Although they don't really do anything here.
It felt like a setup for some future plots, so I'm guessing this isn't the last we'll hear of the Obsidian Order.
Well, I can't comment, but yeah, you're obviously correct.
Otherwise, it's weird if they never mention them again, because they don't actually do anything, and they just say, hey, there's this group that people are afraid of. And then to never mention it again would be weird, especially because it has to do with the Cardassians, and the Cardassians are a big part of this series.
Yeah, they're the third party of the main characters. They're probably more important than the Bajorans, to be honest, because the Bajorans kind of don't really do anything useful or interesting. So I guess this episode had a lot in it, a lot of stuff that they wouldn't usually put in Star Trek, such as what seemed like depression or something similar to that, drug abuse. He mentioned torture and prevention of torture.
And they tackle these issues with a character who was mostly silly until this point. He did murder someone in a previous episode, but
well, that episode was a bit silly.
Yeah, he's been mostly a silly character, and it didn't feel ingenuous to take the character in this direction.
No, it felt like this stuff was definitely always in his character.
Yeah.
He's always just been a little too sure of himself and known a little bit too much about the situation to seem like a plain, simple tailor. So I guess the general summary is no big surprise.
Yeah. Well, I was surprised by Garrick's barely contained rage that he's been harboring for 2 years.
Well, he's been off his face. Plus, I think that was withdrawal as well. He's really jonesing for some pleasure.
I still didn't think Garrick capable of such an outrage.
Because he didn't seem the type, or because he's usually more in control of everything?
Yeah, the latter. I suspected there was more than what we knew or what he was willing to reveal, but I wouldn't have predicted Garrick flipping a table and tackling Bashir.
Well, I'm sure other people have wanted to.
Such as O'Brien. See, if O'Brien did that stuff, I would say yes, finally.
You could say Garrick was coming apart at the seams.
Oh, nice.
I think, considering he was supposed to be in severe pain and having seizures as well as having his privacy and his history brought out against his will, I think he was not doing too bad. If it had been Cisco, he would have just started punching and never stopped.
Yeah, Cisco even makes light of his tendencies in this episode.
Cisco is hardly in it. Most characters are hardly in it. It's very focused on Bashir and Garrick and their budding relationship. And I think it also cements Bashir as a Garrick fanboy.
Well, we knew that.
Yeah, but now he's hooked.
He's such a fanboy, he had to backpedal on his opinions of Cardassian literature.
I liked how they had a form of prose that we don't really have. The, what is it, repetitive epic or something?
Yeah, I like that as well. Throughout history, there are forms of literature that have strict rules, such as the sonnet, and it makes sense that other cultures would have things like that.
Yeah, it was very fitting to Cardassians as well. I could imagine them really enjoying a extremely boring, repetitive, swamped in details book about some just some drama that has no real point to it.
It's a nice touch that makes sense for what we know about Cardassians.
I like the other one he mentions, the Crimson Shadow, something like that.
It takes place in the future, during a time when Cardassia and the Klingon Empire are at war. Who wins? Who do you think?
That was quite funny.
Yeah, that was good. I liked that discussion in the beginning because it shows how awkward it is when someone is heavily invested in some sort of entertainment and they want your take on it, and then you don't exactly mirror how they feel, and then it can get weird because people conflate works they like with themselves. So if you attack the work, they see it as a personal attack.
Oh yeah.
And I'll tie that into the title of this episode, The Wire, which is a series I have not seen, and everyone who talks about it says, what is wrong with you? Why haven't you seen it? And when I do eventually see it, it will be impossible for me to go into it without loaded expectations. And then I'll feel obligated to think it's the greatest thing ever. And it'll be weird when If I don't,
Well, maybe we could do it after Deep Space Nine on the podcast.
there's a novel idea.
Be kind of a change of pace. It's quite a different style of show.
You mentioned this is mostly Garrick and Bashir, and that's true, but we did get some Odo, a sprinkle of Odo in here.
Just a dusting, yeah. He was ranting about the Obsidian Order, and also something I have written down in my little criticisms page. He did wide-scale, unwarranted wiretapping.
Yeah, there's a continuation of Odo's totalitarian dream.
It's very different to issues current to this decade anyway, which is the 2010s, because no doubt people will be listening to this for decades to come.
Of course.
Yeah. Unwarranted wiretapping and snooping and that sort of stuff is not positively viewed now.
No, not
I'm
at
sure
all.
in the 90s people didn't care so much.
Right.
Obviously, it wasn't a pressing issue, but I think the extent of it was not nearly as much as it is today. So he just sort of convinces Bashir that, oh yeah, it's probably worthwhile though, right? And Bashir's
Yeah,
like,
it's for the greater good.
yeah, I guess seems fine. It's like, whoa, that's not acceptable at all.
That scene is weird from our modern perspective.
Yeah, he's gonna get Edward Snowden. Snowdo. Get it? Because I put Odo into Snowden.
Oh, I got it.
Yeah. Well, but you didn't laugh.
I'm laughing inside.
No, you're not. It was terrible, and you know it. Yes, I wrote that down. I also wrote down that Bashir finds the retired head of the Obsidian Order very, very easily. It seems like they would be a bit harder to track down.
Would that need to be secret information?
Well, I'm guessing you don't run the Secret Service for an entire planet without making one or two enemies. Well, then again, maybe Navran Tain doesn't have any enemies that are still alive.
He was so efficient at his job that they're all dead.
That would make sense. I mean, Cardassians don't seem to care that much about killing people. Even Gulda Cat suggests it kind of, oh, the replicator's not working. Gulda Cat says, well, why don't we just start killing people until it works? So I imagine the Obsidian Order are probably 10 times as kill crazy. They want someone gone, then...
Hey, whatever works.
Well, yeah, if it works, don't fix it.
Did you have any other criticisms?
Bashir is diagnosing Dax's plant.
Yeah,
It's
what
made
was
no
kind of
sense.
that?
I mean, she's said she's got degrees in zoology, so that's surely closer than medicine. I know it's a Bashir episode, but they could have picked a better excuse.
That was so contrived.
Yeah, and then he actually solves it, which is also weird. Well done, Bashir, you did good. You saved Garrick and the plant.
What a hero. They're both science officers. They could be meeting for any reason. They didn't need to bring in this plant.
Yeah, and then he said, why didn't you ask Keiko? And Dax had to then come up with a reason why Keiko wasn't available, let alone any other botanist she could have contacted by subspace.
Yeah. Unless it was a pretense to lure Bashir into her quarters, which is not how they played it.
That would make sense, though, because Bashir was the one that brought up Garrick, which is what the conversation was about.
Yeah.
So if she lured him there with a plant, she did it for very honorable plot-related reasons.
I wouldn't have minded so much if the plant were some sort of puppet thing. just so we could have the novelty of some puppetry, but it was just the cone with some fuzz.
What, like a hand puppet?
Yeah, like a Venus flytrap, something that would be moving and be animated.
Okay, so you'll accept a really, really weak plot device if it's got some visual
Pizzazz.
Yeah, it's got
Yeah.
a bit of sparkle to it.
Otherwise, what's the point? It doesn't make sense plot-wise, and there's nothing for us to see.
Yeah, it was daft. I don't know. It's probably not even worth talking about so much.
So let's talk about it more.
Okay, why didn't she just already know that the fungus was what they needed and ask Julian to synthesize it with medical equipment? Well, I phrased that as a question. What I'm saying is that's what should have happened. It would have made more sense.
Yeah. It makes the least sense that it's Dax. She's a science officer.
Yeah, that's the thing. She's more qualified than Bashir to diagnose this problem. Oh well. Hey, I've got another thing that's quite funny.
Mm-hmm.
So Quark's talking to a Cardassian who is named Bob, let's say.
Okay.
And Quark says to Bob, "Hey Bob, how about you find me this thing? Here's the code number." And then the guy says, "Oh no, they're going to kill me for typing that in." Suddenly Quark thinks, so if there's a Cardassian I don't like, I can just ask them for this thing and they'll get killed by the Obsidian Order.
Surely they will interrogate those Cardassians and find out where they obtained the number.
Surely if it was secret, it would just say it doesn't exist.
Yeah, why would you draw attention to you shouldn't have this information?
It's a red light flashing. You have triggered the super secret alarm. You know a super secret. We're coming to get you.
Stop knowing the super secret. We will alert you so you can run away, but please don't, because we want to murder you.
Yeah, that was kind of badly played.
That one guy, let's call him Bob 2, says a good host knows the needs of his guests. And it made me think of data mining and how aggressive companies are with that now, and how we have targeted ads, and Google and Amazon and others know a frighteningly large amount of detail about everyone.
So did you just call in Elbrantane Bob 2?
Yes.
Okay, he's the head of the Obsidian Order.
Yeah, Bob 2. Good old Bob 2.
Fair enough. Yeah, he knew Bashir's middle name, Subatoy.
Even if hosts should know the needs of their guests, they shouldn't reveal that they have intrusive behaviors.
But that's his shtick. It's not. You assume because he was the head of the Secret Service, he knows tons of stuff about everyone. It'd be weird if Bashir went to someone's house and they knew all about him with no pretense of knowing things about everyone. Then they'd just look like a really creepy sort of stalker. So I think it's excusable. Plus, he was just displaying his power.
Yeah. I have a criticism.
Go for it.
So when Garrick is 3 sheets to the wind, Quark calls Bashir. Why did he call Bashir? Shouldn't he call Odo? Isn't that a security matter? When someone is drunk and disorderly?
That's true. Although, well, I was going to say Quark wouldn't call Odo, but he does go to Odo all the time.
He loves Odo.
He reports stuff to him. He's one of these guys that takes as much as he can, but as soon as someone wrongs him in even the most minor way, he runs to the authority and says, "What? This is not fair."
Yeah. It just felt too convenient to call Bashir. Well, we need Bashir and Garrick to interact, so let's just have Quark call Bashir.
We called Bashir because Garrick was about to have a seizure.
He sensed it.
Yeah. There was a nice little bit where Bashir has the bottle behind his back and Quark zooms past and scoops it away.
Yeah.
That was kind of nice. So, I've got a question with a very predictable answer.
Yes.
Do you have a quote of the show?
I do, and breaking from tradition, it's a multi-line one.
Oh,
I usually...
what a surprise.
I try to avoid these just out of convenience, but I like this one too much.
Yeah, I think I know what's going, and I think any Deep Space Nine fan probably can guess it.
Bashir, what I want to know is, out of all the stories you told me, which ones were true and which ones weren't? Garrick, my dear doctor, they're all true. Bashir, even the lies? Garrick, especially the lies.
Especially the lies. And it freezes on his smiling mugshot.
He's a smiley guy.
And you just think, that doesn't make any sense. And then you think, oh no wait, it kind of does make a lot of sense.
The lies are his truth.
Because it kind of sums him up very, very effectively.
Yeah, it does. He's created this persona, and he's playing a part, but he doesn't see it as playing a part.
Yeah, everything about him is entrenched so deep that you're never going to find out anything he doesn't want you to know, but you're never going to know if you know it or not. He could turn around and tell you a completely different thing about some aspect of himself, and you would have no real basis to say that is more or less accurate than what you knew before.
Yeah, he's a riddle wrapped up in an enigma.
They're difficult to solve.
Yeah.
They're difficult to solve.
Maybe we should get the Makuye on the case. A riddle wrapped up in an enigma.
It just makes you want to commit Sudoku.
Duh.
So how many people do you think he killed to get exiled?
I don't think he killed anyone except his former self.
Yes. I couldn't say. I don't think anything. You roll it over in your head and think, okay, so he mentioned the ship multiple times, so maybe that's more likely to be true, or the escaping prisoners.
Yeah.
And he mentioned Elim, which is him. Maybe there's some subtext there. And maybe you could piece together something, but who knows? And also, who cares?
Yeah, it doesn't change anything about Garrick. Mentioning his first name made his stories seem so detached and more likely to be not real. For me, anyway.
Well, I mean, they're clearly not real if he's talking about himself.
Yeah, in the third person.
Yeah. Maybe he implicated himself. He says he tried to get dirt on Elim, and Elim tried to get dirt on him. But Elim got there first.
Yeah, I thought of some sort of crisis of conscience scenario.
Well, maybe he implicated himself to get exiled rather than get killed. But who knows? That's as likely as anything else. Anyway, rather than deliberate over this big packet of lies, which we can do in our own time, I'm sure, we should move on to the next episode.
Onwards.
Okay, I get it. It's called The Wire, which is also the name of a television show. Don't labor the point. By the way, I might as well reveal that Bob's real name is Bohica, in case anyone cares. Have a good day, and remember kids, stay in school, eat your vegetables and don't do pain-suppressing irremovable brain implants.